Manchester United then coming from behind to beat Brentford by 2-1. For more on this, let's welcome in, shall we? Frank Leboeuf is with us. And Rob Dawson was at the game, even with your dour ways, Rob. That must have been quite an exciting finish to be present for.
It was. Stoppage time, the last 6 minutes were fantastic. United fans blew the roof off Old Trafford when that second goal, particularly when that second goal went in. The problem, like you say, for Erik ten Hag is the other 90 minutes were woeful, really. Another underwhelming performance, probably plastered over by those two late Scott McTominay goals. The problem is, though, that United cannot go through the season playing like that and expect to be successful. A happy ending today because Scott McTominay's got those 2 goals at the end, but more problem for Ten Hag.
But could this be the catalyst, Stevie? Could this be them turning the corner, the momentum? 3 points out of nothing, kickstart the season.
It's very rare that the reply to that would be no. Because generally a result like this and an ending like this is exactly what happens. It brings everybody together, it kickstarts everything, and everybody's... But the truth is, if you're Ten Hag, although you've won the game, when you go in your coach's room and shut the door, you've probably got more problems now than you did before the ball was kicked. I mean, he's had... And I say had because he had no choice. He had to take Casemiro off. He had to take Rashford off. I mean, these are arguably their 2 most important players.
Why did he have to take them off?
Oh, because they were that bad. I mean, just basically, I said it yesterday, that eventually Rashford's going to have to sit on the bench because he can't keep getting away with not scoring goals, not creating anything, and not defending. And eventually he did. And then, of course, who comes on? Garnacho. Again, not mind-blowing skills, just a bit of desire, a bit of effort, a bit of aggression, and he creates something out of nothing, and they get an equaliser. So, as I said, he's because you've got particularly Casemiro now sitting in his house right now, going, why did he take me off? What about? Is this me? Am I going to start the next? I mean, there'll be so many things going through his head in particular, but everybody's head. I mean, look at the team he picked. You talk about reaching. You play Maguire. I mean, you're reaching. You play Lindelof at left back. This smacks of desperation. And again, as much as they won the game, you have learned zero from this. And having watched this 11 that you put out, there's no way that you would put the same 11 out the next time. So he's learned absolutely nothing today.
Riddle me this, Frank. Why did it take up to 80 minutes for Manchester United? It's like they suddenly thought, God, we better try and get a goal here because leading up to that, there was just nothing.
Yeah, that's strange. But in the old time where we used to call it the Fergie time, remember, where they used to score mini goals like that? But before there was something at that time. Now, as Stevie said, it was nothing that before, and it's complicated. Why you want to rush, and why you don't rush before? Why you don't give everything? Maybe the 10 minutes before the end. Maybe you want to see that you want to survive and you want to try something. There was nothing. It was so easy for Brentford, and suddenly they managed to change something. But it may be one player who believed more than the others. And McTominay, in fact, scores 3 goals because one was offside from Martial. I think it was more an own goal. It's true, but really, that guy was everywhere in the spot. It was the young guy from the club who decided to make Manchester United having a breath, and that was a real breath. I mean, it's not, as Stevie said, something you're gonna use to say, okay, guys, now it's a big turn for us. We did what we had to do. No, it's not. It was horrendous, except for the last 2 minutes. But it's so good to win that way, especially before an international break, because you can work and you can work maybe certainly with the same coach, because it could have been different. So it's a big breath for Ten Hag. It's a big breath for the club and the players. But as Stevie said, they learned nothing and they cannot use anything from that game.
Rob, how much trouble would he have been in if they lost?
I mean, he certainly would have been under more pressure. I think that the pressure really had started to build this week anyway with the defeat last weekend to Palace. Then you go and play Galatasaray on Tuesday, you get beat again. The club say that they are fully behind him, and they would have been behind him even if they hadn't won today. The problem is that it just can't carry on like that. At some stage, results are going to dictate everything, and it's all very well the club saying that Ten Hag's our man, we see him as a long-term appointment, we support him, but United just aren't going to let results carry on in the way they have been and not make a change. And historically, since Sir Alex Ferguson, we've seen that when United have fallen out of the race for the top four, that's when the club have decided they want to make a change. And they did it with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they did it with Jose Mourinho. We're not quite there yet with Erik Ten Hag, and obviously today is a great boost for him. He goes into an international break, like Frank says, on the back of a positive result. But if they have another poor run after the international break, and they've got City coming up very soon, the pressure will be on again, the questions will be asked again, and there'll be a decision for the club to make. You know, again, it's all very well them saying that they are fully supportive of the manager, but results dictate everything, and United will not be allowed to carry on losing games week after week this season without a change being made.
This is what Ten Hag had to say after the game. When you can't handle the pressure, don't play here. Those players, they are so experienced. These are such high-quality players that they have to take responsibility. In football, it's eat or get eaten. Too many times in the first half of the season, we got eaten by opponents who are more hungry. This can't be. It has to go away. Every player has to deliver that in every second he is on the pitch. Rob, why are they not delivering it? Why aren't they hungry? Why are they quite happy to be eaten? We've talked about Marcus Rashford quite a lot as kind of the poster child, if you like, of where it's gone wrong this season.
I mean, if you can answer that question, then you could probably send your CV into Old Trafford and get a manager's job there, because at the moment, Ten Hag hasn't got the answer to that. You know, game after game, we see that United are on the back foot in the first half of games. They conceded the first goal today. It's the 6th time in 11 games they've conceded the first goal in a game. They look like there's mentality issues all over the pitch. There are problems all over the pitch. They've got an issue with the goalkeeper, Andre Onana, now, who doesn't seem to be able to save anything. They've got a problem with Casemiro, who had to be taken off at half-time today. Marcus Rashford is another problem, that he was their best attacking player last season, and now in the last 3 games he's had to be taken off early. Today he's been taken off in the 63rd minute, even though United were desperate for a goal. And in theory, Rashford is your best goal scorer. Mason Mount, one of your big summer signings, isn't delivering, isn't scoring, isn't assisting goals, had to be taken off early again. You know, it's going to be a very, very long international break this for Erik Ten Hag, because as great as today was, the finish was fantastic. The fans have gone home happy. He's got an awful lot of work to do in the next 2 weeks to solve this problem, because we could be sat here after the Sheffield United game in 2 weeks' time talking about exactly the same issues. And it's just not going to be allowed to carry on. At some stage, there has to be some kind of trigger that turns around this form, because at the moment, United are really struggling.
And we heard the boos, didn't we, at half-time, Rob? How much focus of the criticism has been aimed from the fans at Ten Hag?
He's got away with it so far that the fans are, the majority of fans, match-going fans, are behind him. That there were scattered boos at half-time when it was 1-0. There were boos after the Galatasaray game and also after the Palace game last weekend. But I think the majority of fans understand that Erik Ten Hag is dealing with a lot of individual issues now at Old Trafford. Their anger at the moment is directed at the owners, the Glazer family, because they want them to sell. It's directed a little bit at the players because they look into the dressing room and wonder if there's a strong enough mentality in that dressing room to want to get the team out of this mess. They wonder if some of the players are there for the wrong reasons, if they're there for the money and not for the desire to push Man United forward. So at the moment, the majority of match-going fans, particularly, are behind Erik Ten Hag. But as I say, you know, results are going to dictate everything. And if this form doesn't turn very, very quickly, then the fans are going to get on Ten Hag's back, because that's what we've seen in the past with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Jose Mourinho. And managers just aren't immune at Old Trafford, regardless of the fact that he's had a very good first season, winning the trophy last year and getting back into the top 4. The fans just won't settle for this team to plod along all season, lose a couple, win one, and then lose a couple. And eventually, the pressure will be on Ten Hag, and the fans will let him know that.
How much is he, though, a victim of the hand he's been dealt, Stevie? Like, if you've got to play Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans as your 2 centre-back pairings, you can't blame Ten Hag for that, can you?
I'll be honest with you. I'm beginning to run out of sympathy for Ten Hag, Dan, because as a coach, your job's not only about tactics and picking the right team, it's about setting a tone at the club, in the ground, at the training ground. You and your staff have to create an atmosphere where people want to be there, they want to work hard. I mean, it's easy to go back to the Fergie one, but Fergie, everybody couldn't wait to get in the morning, and they knew that every second of every minute of every day they had to work hard. And when you do that, you see the result of it on the field on a Saturday. That's not happening with this group. And as much as you can blame form, or you can blame Rashford's not the same player, at the end of the day, you have to get your team on the field that fight and show desire the way they did for the last 8 minutes. Half of that is down to the manager. Half of that is down to him and his staff. And they've got it so badly wrong so far that you can't hide. And the last thing he should be doing is going out and blaming the players. That's what he's done with that statement.
Right.
If you can't handle playing here, he's basically blaming them.
Yeah.
We always criticise Mourinho for taking the pressure off the players, but that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you should be doing. If I'm a player and I read that, I'm going, aye, what about him? That's the first thing in my brain. Well, what about him?
Right.
What's he doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, right now, he's scratching around. And the team he put on the field today tells you that he's searching for something.
Go on, Frank.
TV in that matter, because I think, he has some responsibilities in the way the player come onto the field and behave. Especially, well, I remember Sir Alex Ferguson. I was told that at the first year or years, it wasn't that easy, and he wasn't that the leader that he showed after. But the thing is, Ten Hag struggled so much last year and became really the leader, taking very strong decisions, except, for example, getting rid of Ronaldo. And so I think the dressing room followed him. From those basics, he should have worked on the way he wanted the players to behave. You don't want to follow me, get out. And I was able to kick the biggest player in the world, maybe. So I would have any problem, any source of problem to get rid of you. So you have to follow me. And then on those basics, just build a team of warriors. We don't see a team of warriors. We have talents. Yeah, you will work on the tactic, but they forgot the essence of football and what I used to see from Manchester United. It's they would never give up, and I was talking about the Fergie time, and it's because they never gave up that they believed that they could beat anybody. It was a lucky day for them. It wasn't what we used to see, and what makes the blood of a Manchester United club. It's different now, and he missed that. Where it was at the top of the top last year with the decision that he made.
Rob, you mentioned it before. Onana, Mason Mount, you can add them to a long list of players over recent season who have gone to Manchester United and got worse. Why?
I mean, again, that's the golden question. All of this really comes back to recruitment. It's not like United haven't spent money over the last decade. They have spent the money. The players that they've brought in just haven't been good enough, or at least they've been good enough at different clubs and have come to Man United and failed. And that has been a pattern all the way through this last decade, that even players who you thought were guaranteed to be a success at Old Trafford, the likes of Alexis Sanchez, who was great at Arsenal, turned up at Old Trafford and was absolutely dreadful to the point where they had to pay him to play for someone else. And at the moment, it just feels like the pressure of that Man United shirt is far too much. But you do get very good players like Andre Onana, who reached a Champions League final with Inter last year, but come to Man United and just start to shrink. And he's having an absolutely awful time to start his Man United career. He made another mistake today. He was at fault in the situation that got Casemiro sent off against Galatasaray in midweek. He made an awful error in the Champions League against Bayern Munich, and he just looks a shadow of the player that we saw at Inter Milan. And that is replicated all over the pitch. All these players come to Man United for big money, and for whatever reason, they just can't do it when they get to Man United. And really, as critical as we can be of the performance today, until that sorts itself out in terms of recruitment and getting the right players in, we're still going to be having this conversation about Man United in 5 years or possibly 10 years' time.
Rob, I'll ask you one last question, because I feel we're being rather negative, and this is probably the hardest question of them all. Can you give us any sort of optimistic answer looking ahead for the future for Manchester United?
I'll tell you what, Rasmus Højlund, again today, looked like a Man United player. The lad is 20 years old. He's not got a massive amount of senior football experience. He's come from Serie A, where he didn't score a bucket load of goals. But he's come in again today, and he's played fantastically well. He was great against Galatasaray. He scored 2 wonderful goals. The second, in particular, was fantastic, running from the halfway line. He looks like a Man United player, and if he can start scoring regularly, United will be in a much better place. The problem is that he's surrounded by players at the moment who aren't performing, and if they can match his level of aggression, of commitment, of determination, of desire, that will be a great start for Man United. It seems silly to say, but if you get the likes of these experienced players looking at that 20-year-old boy and say, we're going to follow him, we're going to play like him, United will be halfway there.